Hey everyone, Mr. Voikin here, and today we're going to take a look at drawings using third angle projection. So that is basically looking at an isometric view style drawing, such as you see in that magenta color up in the top right corner, and converting that into individual views, such as the front view, the right view, and the top view. And those are the three standard views that are used in third angle projection. Now, if there were details on the bottom, the left side, or the back, we would also have to include those drawings in our presentation. So we're not going to draw this drawing right here, but you can see at the bottom left, that's our front view, and we can see that it is 2 units high. And there isn't a dimension for the width, but if we look up at the top view, we can see that that is 3 units wide. Okay, and the right side view has no dimensions on there right now, but the height of that right side view would be the same as the front view, and the width would be the same as this dimension here on the top view. And I will show you how to use projection lines in order to transfer those dimensions over without actually drawing them using measurements. Okay, so behind this image is Sketchup, and this is a drawing that I've shared with you. It's a 3-dimensional drawing. Now we need to learn a little bit about Sketchup and how to maneuver around it, not particularly how to draw these shapes. That will be later in the course, but for right now you need to know how to manipulate this drawing. So right now you can see that I'm sort of what we're called orbiting. So I can spin around and see all different views on this drawing. Okay, if I want to see the top or the bottom, and this happens to be the front. And the way I know it's the front is the red is the x-axis, the green is the y-axis, so that is my front view right sort of there, like that. Okay, so that is called orbiting, and to do that you can either type O, and you can see you get that orbiting symbol, press down on the left mouse button and hold it, and you can sort of move it around. Now a faster way to do that, and by the way, to get back to our selection tool, you just want to press spacebar. It goes back to that arrow right there. So a faster way to do it, if you have a proper mouse with a left button, a right button, and a scroll wheel, is just press down on the scroll wheel and you see it turns to that symbol, and I can do the same thing as long as I'm holding that scroll wheel down. Okay, now what about panning? Panning means moving left and right and up and down. Okay, so to do that, you'd think you'd use P, but that's for a different command called push-pull. So for SketchUp, it's H, which turns it into this hand. And again, I can just press down on the left mouse button and pan to the left and to the right and up and down. Again, spacebar to go back to the selection tool. And now if I want to actually pan the quicker way using the mouse, I hold down Shift and press the mouse wheel, and now I can pan. So I can go between orbiting to panning and zooming by using Shift and various different combinations with the scroll wheel. Okay, now over on the right hand side, you can see we've got this little menu bar right here, and the 1, 2, 3, 4th one up are the scenes, and we're going to click on that, and you can see it gives us a number of various scenes. So if I click on the bottom middle, that is the front view. If I click on the middle right, that's the right side view. Middle left is the left side view. The middle back is the back view, and the middle is the top view. And the other ones happen to be projection views from various angles. Okay, now You can see to the left here, we've got these two cubes. The top one says that it is perspective, which is nice when you're trying to look at it in a three-dimensional view. But when we want to look at specific views like the front view, right side view, and top view, we want to click on this one down here, which is parallel projection. Now, in an isometric view, it sort of skews the parallel projection. It looks really sort of off. Okay, so but looking at it from a front view, you can see we get a true front view right there. So literally, when we draw our image for the front view, that is what it should look like. Now, what I need you to do is just grab a scrap piece of paper and draw exactly what you see. So you should come down on the left, over, up, back over, down into this V shape and back here. Then we're going to draw this little ledge. And finally the circle, obviously. Now I'm going to press K. So the K key on my keyboard allows me to, and it's not allowing me to do it right now for some reason. I don't know why it's not allowing me to do that. There it is. I know why. Sorry, there were no hidden lines in that view. That allows me to see any hidden lines. Okay, so again, in the front view, there are no hidden lines. Everything is visible. Now I'm just going to click on the right side view, and you can see that again, that sort of backwards L shape, that is our sort of outside edges, anything we can literally see. And all these dashed lines that we see right there, those are the hidden lines. So these two at the bottom, they are indicating the top and bottom of the circle that goes all the way through, or the hole that goes all the way through. And this upper dashed line, that's the bottom of that V shape that we see right there. Okay, now if I look at the top view, you can see again that we can see this little section that's on top, the edge of that V, the bottom of the V right here, the other edge of the V, and these dashed lines going through, again, those are showing the circle that, or the hole that goes all the way through from the front to the back. So I need you to draw the front view, the right view, side view, and the top view as you see it right here on a piece of paper. And we're now going to grab some dimensions, and I'll show you how to do that. So head back over to the front view. And if we go back over to the menu and go to the top sort of icon right there, it's called Entity Info. Click on that, and you can see it says at the top, Entity Info, there's no selection. Well, that's because I haven't selected anything. So I have to make sure I hit spacebar so I'm in that arrow. And I'm going to go down to the very bottom, and I'm going to click down there. And you can see, again, over here in Entity Info, it now gives us some information. And the piece of information we're looking for right here is that it is 450 millimeters. Okay, now I'm going to click on another object right here. And it says it's 226. Now, it's actually, more than 226 in height, because what I've actually clicked on is just this sort of front little vertical portion right here on the lower ledge. So that is 226. Okay, the total height of this object, we'd have to go to the right side view and click on the left side, and you can see that over here in Entity Info that it is 600. So on the right side view, it's 600 high. This little ledge on the top is 175. I click on this portion, this vertical portion going down to this sort of shelf right here, which is 374. And if I was to take the right side, which was 600, and subtract the left side, which was 374, I end up with this other sort of bottom portion, which was 226. Okay? that basically gets you that portion right there. Now I'm going to go to a front view again. If I click on the circle, it tells me right here it has a radius of 70 millimeters. And if I want to find the center of the circle, I can just right click on the circle and choose find center, and it puts a center mark in there for you. Okay, now I got to find out, well, how far is it from that center mark over to the edge? Well, there's nothing I can click on, but what you do is type T for tape, go on to that center point, click, slide over, make sure it's on that red line, find the edge right there. It says that is 225 millimeters over. Now, I haven't clicked or anything, so I'm still attached. I'm going to go to the other side, and you can see that that is 225 millimeters. And again, if I go back to the selection tool and look at the bottom, it was 450. That tells me that that circle is in the very center or in the middle of this object. Now, what about going up and down? Well, I'm going to press T again to get the tape. I'm going to slide up to the top of that shelf, which is 113. And if you can remember, the height of this side was 226. So the bottom should also be 113. That's good. Okay, now back to spacebar. How far over is this sort of top ledge? Well, if I click on that, it tells me it is over 120. And if I click over here, it tells me it is over also 120, telling me that that V is in the center of this object. Now I need to know, well, how far down is the V? Well, the problem is I can't, if I click on this line right here that's making the V, you can see it gives me this squiggly, so that's sort of the tilde sign, which means approximately 247. So I can't use an approximate dimension. There's going to be some decimals there. So that's either being rounded up or rounded down. So I need to find that, and I'm going to sort of use my orbit tool and spin. Okay, and then I'll use the tape tool here, and I'll click on the bottom of the V and go straight down. Make sure it's on that blue line. Get to the bottom, and it tells me it's 150 down. Okay, so which would be the same as basically coming from this midpoint right here, going up 150 millimeters to that point. Okay, so basically we just need to be able to get all the dimensions so that we can look at it and draw it, replicate what we see there in a front view, right side view, and top view. So I gave you this file for the SketchUp. It's a .skp file extension, so please open that up and use the tools and techniques that I showed you to create a very, very quick hand sketch. Don't use rulers or anything, just make it look sort of proportional and sort of straight, and record those dimensions for those object lines. And then once you're finished, come back to the video and we will move into AutoCAD and begin drawing it in third angle projection. All right, everybody, so I've completed my drawing and hopefully you've completed your drawing. So again, this is third angle projection, and this little symbol right here is what indicates that it is third angle versus first angle projection. Now, my front view is right here, my right side view is over here, and my top view is right there. Now, some of these dimensions are redundant, which means they're repeated and they're unnecessary and they're sort of cluttering things up. So if we see right here, that is 600, and I've put that over here as well. Well, obviously if the height of this one is 600, then the height of this one is also 600. So really, that dimension there is sort of unnecessary. Okay. Now I do want to put these dimensions in here, which is 374 for that shelf and 226 for this bottom part, But again, over here, you can see I've just temporarily labeled those. They're sort of unnecessary right there. So again, they're just repeating themselves, so I don't really need those to be there. Okay, now along the top, you can see that I've got between here and here, I have 120, and this one here is 120, which would be the same as this one up here. So I don't need to label that one up top, either of those ones, because it's already labeled down below, and I can just transfer those dimensions up. Okay, same with at the bottom of this, we can see that that is 350 millimeters. Well, that's going to be the same as this side right here, and this one would be 450, which would be the same as this bottom one down here. So most of these dimensions do not need to be, or a lot of the dimensions do not need to be put on there. It just clutters it up again, and they become sort of redundant or unnecessary. Okay, so once we have all these dimensions, we just want to put that to the side, and we'll open up our AutoCAD drawing and begin. Alrighty, here we are in the AutoCAD application, and I've just opened up a AutoCAD.dwt standard template that they provide with the application. Now, if you have your own template that you've created, you can open that one. If you happen to be starting from scratch, again, the AutoCAD.dwt is where we want to begin. And always what we want to start off with is ensuring that our units are in millimeters. So our precision for this drawing, we don't need, actually there's not any decimal values, but we'll leave it at one decimal. And the insertion scale units are going to be millimeters. We're going to say OK. All right, now we don't really need to have our limits, but our drawing is basically 450 wide on the front and 350 wide on the bottom. I'll probably put a space of 200 or 300 in between. So somewhere around 1500 to 2000 wide units, millimeters in this case, and 2000 high is going to be big enough. So I'm going to type in limits and hit enter, and as always, our bottom left corner is at the origin, coordinates 0, 0, enter, and the top right I told you was going to be 2000, 2000, hit enter, and I will turn on my grid down in the status bar, and again we can sort of see everything, right? I can not focus in on the area of my drawing. What do we have to do? Go back to status bar, on the grid icon, right click, go to settings, and we want to turn off this function right here. So this display grid beyond limits, we want that to be deselected, and click OK. And now you can see I'm zoomed way too much in. I can't even see my grid. To display that, I'm going to have to start zooming out and moving it, or I can double click the scroll wheel, and then that should bring me into a view extents, and that's zoom extents, and that's something else you can just type in Z, enter, E, enter, and that will zoom the extents. So just to show you that, I'm zoomed way out, I just go Z, enter, E, enter, and it gets me right there. Okay, now we need to set up a couple layers, and we're going to set up these layers right here by opening up the layers window. Alright, well, I'm going to take this layers window and just open it up a little bit. And I'm going to go down to the bottom left, and I will turn the caps lock on as we do all of our text with uppercase characters. And the first layer that we're going to make is going to be called center. Hit enter, and we'll change that to the color 84. So I'll click on the color, select color, and type in 84. Hit enter. Now the center is for center lines, and we can see over here it says default. What thickness are we going to make that line? So our line weight will be 0.18, and the line type, it's not continuous, it's going to be center. Now there is no center available at the default, it's just only one, which is continuous. So we go to manage, load, find center, add it, select it, click OK. All right, so now you have the center line, line type, the line weight of 0.18. The name of it is center, and the color was, I believe, 84. Okay, we need to make another layer, so select another layer, and this one is going to be construction. So construction, and the color for that is going to be magenta. The line weight is going to be 0.09, and the line type is going to be continuous. Third layer is going to be hidden, H-I-D-D-E-N, and the color for the hidden is going to be green. It's going to have a line weight of 0.18 and a line type of hidden. Again, not there. Manage, load, find it, select, add, select, OK, and now it's changed to hidden. And the last two are going to be object and view. So I'm going to go new layer, object, enter. It's going to be colored blue with a line weight of 0.35, a line type of continuous, and our last one is view, and the view is going to also be green, and it's going to have a line weight of 0.09 and a continuous line type. That's finished. Now over on the right hand side at the top, we want to redock that, so click on the little docking symbol and it should move over to the left hand side, and we're going to start off making construction lines. So go down into the properties inspector and change the layer right here to construction. All right, so we could draw these three views all on basically the object layer, just using the dimensions that we have, but we're going to do it using guidelines or construction lines and what we call rays. So that's the first line that we're going to make, is a ray. All right, so in your you want to move your cursor somewhere into your drawing space and just type ray, R-A-Y, and hit enter. Now a ray is a line that starts at a certain point and then continues infinitely in whatever direction you set the ray up. So I'm going to come down to the bottom, sort of the top of that first little square here, down by the XY origin. And that's my ray, and you can see that my I can move it left and right, and it is moving in, is shooting off in that direction infinitely. If I zoom out and out and out, you can see that it continues to go forever and ever. Now I want to put a horizontal line here, but it's not snapping to it. So remember, down here in our status bar, we want to turn on this polar tracking, and if we right click on that, it should be set to 15 degrees. Okay, and now when I come down, snap, there it goes, it snaps right to 0. I'm going to left click and I'm going to move my mouse up and create now a vertical line. Okay, and I'm still attached, but I'm going to right click to get out of that command. Now, I don't really need this grid here, so it gets in the way of seeing my lines, so I'm going to turn that off down in the status bar. And the other thing that's going to be helpful here is to turn on this one right here, which is the show hide line weight. Okay, so make sure it is blue as well. Your status bar should look like my status bar. Now, when we look at this drawing, the front view, it had a width of 450 millimeters. So we're going to use the offset command. It's a modifying command that allows you to sort of copy an object in a specific direction, a specified number of units. So I just type an O and it goes to offset, hit enter. Now it asks me what distance do we want to offset? Well, 450. And now it says select the object. And what you want to do is click on the one that we want to offset and then just move in the direction that you want to offset. I don't have to be right on the line. I can be just moving to the right. I can be way past it as long as I'm to the right of the object that I chose. Now if I go to the left, it's going to offset it to the left. So offset to the right, offset to the left. We want to offset to the right and just click. Now we could repeat this again and again and again, but we don't want to do that. We just want to have the one line right now. Okay, now I'm going to right click to exit that command, but I want to go back into it because this line I want to offset up 600. That is the total height of my object. So again, right click to go back in or type O enter, but right click is faster. It again asks us to specify the distance, 600, enter, and now I'm going to click and move up. Okay, so this rectangle that we just made there is the footprint, which is the maximum width and maximum height of our front view. I'm going to right click to exit out of there. Now, if you remember back to our exercise with hand drawing the orthographic drawings, we need to have a distance in between the front view and the right side view. Now, we'll just choose any distance. It doesn't really matter. I just need to leave enough space to put some dimensioning in there at some point. So I'm going to choose a distance of 500. So O enter, 500 enter. I'm going to click this line and move over 500. Right click to go out, right click to go back in, because I now want to offset this line. This line, I want to move to the right, the width of the right side view, which happens to be 350 millimeters. So offset, enter, 350, enter, select, and move over. So that rectangle right here is now the footprint, the width and height of my right side view. So now I'm going to go escape out of here and type ray again. And what we want to do is go to the top right corner of our front view, and we're going to make a ray off at a 45-degree angle. Okay, and we just need one of those, and I'm going to X out of there. So now you see where this line goes up and intersects with my ray, that this 45-degree projection line right here. Where they intersect, if I now draw a horizontal line to the left, that is going to create the same space of 500 that we put right here. So I'm just going to go L, enter, and go to that intersection point and draw a line over to the right side, or sorry, the left side. And the same up here where this line and this line intersect. If I draw that line straight over, that will create the sort of width of my, or depth of the top view, which is the same as the width of this right side view down here. Okay, so I'm going to go L, enter, go to that intersection point, and I'm going to draw a line straight over to there. So we now have the footprints for the front view, right side view, and top view right here. So I want you to go over to the Properties Inspector. We're going to go to Layer, and we're going to change it to Object, and we're going to outline those footprints. So we're going to do that with a rectangle, REC, enter. Select the bottom corner and drag it up to the top corner. Right click back in, do another one, and right click back in and make your third one. So those are the 3 views that we are going to be drawing. Now, let's start to make some of the more finer details in these. So on the front view, there is a ledge that's going right here, creating that shelf. Now, I'm just going to use the offset command. It's going up 226 millimeters. So O, enter, 226, enter. And even though I'm in the object layer, if I select the construction line and move up, it's going to copy that layer upwards at 226. And now remember, from that point we wanted to go up 150, and that was to the bottom of that V. So I'm going to go O, enter, 150, enter, select, and go up. And again, on the front view, this line moves to the left 120 units to give us the edge of that top piece, and this line right here will move to the right 120 millimeters to give us the top edge, which will go down to the center at this point and back up over here. So again, I'm going to go into offset, enter, 120, enter, and I'm going to move this one over and that one over, and that gives us those points. Okay, now we need to find the center of this object right here. Now, how wide was that object? It was 450. So I'm going to offset it half that distance, which will be the midpoint or the center of this object. So O, enter, 225, enter, and I'm going to offset, oops, I don't want to offset the rectangle, sorry, do that again. O, enter, 225, enter, offset this line over to the middle. Okay, you can see I never switched out of my object layer. I'm still in there, so I'm going to hit escape, go into a line command, and I'm going to draw from here down to there, and then back up to there. Right click out, right click in, and I'm going to draw this bottom shelf right there. And that is sort of done. However, we have this center, this circle that's in the center right here with a radius of 70. And we know that the height of this was 226 from the bottom to this line right here. So the center will be up 113. So again, offset, enter, 113, enter, select this construction line up. That creates the center point right there. It could also be done by, again, going into a construction line and making a line from corner to corner. That always allows us to sort of find our center points right there. Okay, make sure I'm in my object layer again. I want to go to C for circle, start making my circle, and type in 70 for the radius, and that is done. Okay, now these projection lines right here move over to the right side view. So this is my shelf right there. So I'm going to go L, enter, and I'm going to draw that shelf. Now I could draw it all the way across and then trim it later, but I know that it only goes over 175. So I'm going to go in that direction. Now this is where you have to be careful, because sometimes when we got this nearest on, it doesn't actually snap to that line. It's snapping to this nearest, and sometimes if you're down a little bit, it'll actually make a crooked line. So I know that that's at 0 degrees. So I'm going to type 175 tab 0 enter, and that made sure that it was perfectly horizontal. Now I'm just going to go up to the top, and it does go to the center point, which would also go to the perpendicular. And what we can actually do if I wanted to go to perpendicular is I just type, before I go to that point, I type the first three letters, P-E-R, and hit enter, and now it's going to go find the perpendicular right there, which happens to be at this point the same as the midpoint. So there's our little L, or backwards L shape right there. And this one, where you can see, is the bottom of the V, which will be a hidden line later. So we need to make a couple more construction lines coming off of the top of the circle. So from the top quadrant and the bottom quadrant, coming through the right side view, and later that will again be a hidden line. So I'm going to go to construction line. I will make a ray. I could also use a line, and I'm going to go from the top quadrant that direction, make sure I'm perfectly at 0 degrees, and right click out, right click back in, and do it again. Okay, and this line right here and that line inside my right side view will be a hidden line as well. That will also be, and we'll do that later. Okay, now notice that we've projected the outside line up and over, and we did this inside line up and over. So we can do the same with this line, bring it up and over to give us that line that goes across on our top view. So again, I'm going to go to array. So I'm in construction. I'm going to go R-A-Y, enter, and I'm going to go from that point up and right click out, right click in, and from the intersection I'm going to go over. And I could have used line and it wouldn't be trailing way past there like that. I chose ray in this point. If you don't like it, delete out, choose line, and do the same thing, and it should go to the perpendicular, which is the same as the midpoint in that case. Okay, and I know that that happens to be a line going across if we look at our top view. So I'm going to make sure that I'm in the object layer, L enter, I'm going to draw that. This is the top of that ledge down here. This is the other top of the ledge down here. And the bottom of the V will be this line that's in the middle. Okay, and I still need to project the outside of this circle straight up so I can create my hidden lines in there. So again, go back into construction line, make a ray. Where is it coming from? The quadrant right there, going up, and make sure it snaps to that 90 degrees. And the others, the left quadrant, going straight up, and that gives us those hidden lines. Okay, now I need to remove or delete or trim portions of these drawings that should not be there, and to do that I just want to turn off these construction lines for a minute. So go over into layers. At the top here it says construction, and yours might say object or whatever layer you happen to be in. Click on the down arrow to drop this down. We'll see all these circles. When they're filled in, that means it's on, and when I click it and make it hollow, it will turn off. Now it says, hey, you're on that layer. Are you sure you want to turn it off? Yes, I do. So now it's turned off. And if I was to draw another object, so if I go circle, enter, and I try to draw it, see it doesn't show up. But if I turn that layer back on, there'll be a circle right there. Okay, so I know I'm going to be working in a different layer, and the next layer we're going to be working in is going to be the hidden line layer. So I might as well switch to hidden right now, then go up to the top, and I'll turn off the construction. And in the middle of my drawing space, I'm going to type in TR, which is trim, enter. And then I just want to click on the portion or the segments of these lines that I know that I don't want. So I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. Okay, and everything else I actually want. Okay, I'm going to right click out of there, and now I'm going to turn back on my construction line so I can use these rays that we created to make my hidden lines. So I'm already in the hidden line layer, you can see right here. So I'm just going to go L, enter, and I'm going to make that hidden line. I'm going to make that hidden line. I'm going to make this hidden line. And you can see that, you know, this is a lot faster than typing in dimensions. I've already got them already made from us, and everything lines up perfectly. So especially on a circle, like this circle happens to have a radius that is a whole number, 70, but if it happened to be like 63.691, a bunch of infinite decimals, you couldn't really create these edges of the circle without using these rays. So it's quite helpful. Now those are the only hidden lines that we have there. So I am going to now go turn off my construction lines. I don't want to delete them. I want to keep them there in case I ever need them again. So I'm just going to temporarily hide them. And there are the hidden lines. Now with this cream background, I can't really see the hidden lines very well. So I'm either going to want to change the color of my hidden lines to make it easier to work, or change the background. So if I go up to preferences and go to my look and feel and change the model space to like a charcoal, now I can see those hidden lines a little bit better. Now the problem right now is that yes, they're hidden and they are dashed, but they don't really stand out to be dashed that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those three and select those two. Okay, and now go over into the properties inspector, and it says, hey, here's the line type scale. So we're at a 1:1 line type scale right now. I'm going to type in 5 as a trial to make it 5 times sort of larger. Hit enter and hit escape, and that didn't really do anything. So, and it didn't actually work. So 5, enter. Excuse me, sorry, select those, select these. Oh, it did work. So it says 5, that didn't work. Let's try 25. Okay, and you can see it's getting a little bit better. So again, I'll have to select those again, and maybe I'm going to choose like 100. And now I have some dashed lines that look to be like dashed lines. So it will all depend, the scale that you put in there will totally depend on the size of the drawing that you do. So you might actually have to go in there and scale that down to a 0.1 or a 0.2 or something like that. Okay, so it looks like we're pretty close to being done. The only thing that we have left to add into here is what we call a center mark and center lines. So if there is a circle, it needs to have, we need to find the center. If this happened to be a rectangular hole going through here, then I wouldn't do anything in the middle of this. But when I'm looking at the right side view, this is just showing that there's something at the top, something at the bottom. I don't really know what shape it is, but I can obviously look to the left and see it's a circle or a hole, circular hole. But we generally put a center mark here. So to do that, center line and center marks. And to do that, we're going to change over to the center layer. Okay. The scale right now, right there says 5. I can just change that to 1, which was its default. And now if I come over to the left into our tool sets here, you see it says dimension. There's this circle here and it's got the drop down list. So I'm going to hold and it says, hey, there's a center line. So I'm going to hover on that, release, and now it tells me to select the first line. So I'm going to choose the top one here on my right side view. Now it says select the second line right there, and it makes a hidden line or a center line for me right here. Okay, now again, quite difficult to see, and the scale isn't very good. So we set the other scale to 100, and I'll do that as well. But I'm going to make the other center lines first. So again, I'm already, I want to go select that command again, center line, choose this one and that one. It made the center line right there. And then I go back to that, and I'm going to choose center mark and just click on the circle, and it made a center mark. Now what I'm going to do is select that center mark, the center line, and this center line, and I'll go in and I might as well try a scale of 100 again. And there we go. That looks really nice. But again, very difficult to see with that color. So with this one, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go into my layers. I'm going to go to my center line color. And I'll go select color, and I'm going to choose, say, yeah, that one looks really good right there, which happens to be number 22. Click OK. So I've changed it in here, which is going to change every center line to that color. I'll redock that, and it gets put back there as center line. So there we go. That is the end of our drawing. There's only one thing left to sort of do to make this a little bit better. Is usually these center lines and center marks go past the drawing a little bit. So if I click on that, you can see it talks about right here about the extension. So I'm going to put in there a sort of like a 3 and a 3. And now that ends up extending past a little bit 3, which is not very much in this case. If I was drawing it on paper, that would be enough. But remember, this is how wide? 350 wide. So going past only 3 millimeters is very difficult to see. So let's do that again and go change this to say like 30. Okay, and the other side. That looks good, so it's showing me that it's going past. I'm going to click on the center mark, and you can see it's got 4 of them, which on each of them I'm going to choose 30 and 30 and 30 and 30. And that looks better right there. And the last one was up top. In which case, again, 30, enter, and 30, enter. Oh yeah, that is perfect. All right, so there we have our front view, our right side view, our top view with the object lines, hidden lines, center lines, and center marks. The next video that we create with this project we'll look at taking this drawing that's in model space and moving it to a layout, and then creating some dimensions and text to make it again more usable. There you go. Good luck.